good morning, mostly morning for hopefully everyone. Welcome to cyber.org's lesson deep dive from Cybersecurity Basics for students in grades 6 through 8. My name is Linda Morgan. I am a cybersecurity curriculum specialist here at cyber.org, and I am being joined by the lovely Jess Hexel. Um, Yay! So here is what we look like. It also includes our email addresses down at the bottom of the screen. So if you have any questions about anything you see or hear today, you can email either of us and we will happily answer those questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Want to talk a little bit about cyber.org. We are located in Bossier City, Louisiana. So that is where I am joining the call from today. Jess, where are you at?
I am currently in a hotel in Washington, D.C., and later tonight heading back to sunny California.
All right, very nice. Even with virtual PD, we're still traveling and doing things and spreading the good word about cybersecurity. And that is because cyber.org believes that K-12 cyber education is key to solving the cyber workforce shortage. And so our approach to tackling that mission is to empower teachers with resources and training needed to deliver cybersecurity content to students. And so you guys are part of our mission as well. And so we are more than thrilled to be here and to support you as you work your way through that endeavor. So I have a little bit of audience participation for you this morning. So in another tab, if you would be so kind, you can head over to slido.com and use the number on the screen there, 1298165. And I have a different kind of question for you this morning. Usually I ask which of the following best describes you, and then let you go ahead and pick your educator group. But I get the feeling that several of you have gone or attended several of our sessions this week. So I actually have a different question for you today. And so it is a word cloud, and it asks the question, how are you feeling about the prospect of incorporating the curriculum and materials provided by cyber.org into your classroom this year? So if you want to go ahead and pop a word, a thought in there about how you're feeling about that. Ooh, curious. I love that. All right. I'll take curious any day. Hopeful, excited. Oh, I love these. Awesome. Hopefully at this point, no one is feeling scared or apprehensive. And that is the purpose of this deep dive today. We want to definitely remove those adjectives from your mind whenever you think about our cyber.org curriculum. So continuing on. So our objectives for this 90 minutes are again to introduce cybersecurity basics, explore Canvas for where to find all of these lessons and materials that we're going to deep dive into, take a look at a 6-8 lesson, and as an added bonus, Jess and I really thought it would be an exciting opportunity to sort of show y'all how our cyber.org range activities would fit in nicely with some of the lessons that you will come upon in Cybersecurity Basics. So we're going to do sort of a demo slash hands-on version of a range activity today as well. And then a brief little survey at the end that people who are watching this recording later won't see, but you guys who are here with us today, you'll get an opportunity to let Jess and I know how we did. So again, QR code on the screen takes you to our curriculum sign-up page. There is a form there where you answer a little bit about who you are, what you teach, what kind of school you're in, and a real live person actually looks at that application to decide whether or not you receive Canvas access. And so we usually tell people that if you use your school email when you are filling out this form, it does help to expedite that process so that the person reviewing them can check and make sure that you are a K-12 educator within the United States. So once you get that email from us that gives you the congratulations that your account has been created, it will have your username, which should be that email, and a temporary password for you to be able to log into our Canvas site. And so taking a look, gotta find my internet. There it is. All right, so you would click the login button, and then here is our sign in. You would put in that email that you registered with and that password, and then you would be able to log in. And so once again, our Canvas dashboard has been separated into the different grade bands, K-5, elementary, 6-8, middle school, and 9 through 12, the high school. And so you have access to absolutely any and all things that are listed in here, but we figured it would be a lot less stressful if we sort of divided up our curricula into what would be most helpful for elementary teachers, middle school teachers, and high school teachers. So Cybersecurity Basics is in the middle school section. You scroll down a little bit farther, you'll also see the cyber.org range activities, and that's where you're going to find the activity that we will work through today. As you scroll farther down, you will also see that there is a link here that would take you directly to the login page for our cyber.org range. It should be noted that Canvas is our LMS, but really we tend to think of it more as a file repository. So you, the teacher in your classroom, are going to be a student in our Canvas. And so we've had questions about how to register your students into our Canvas, and the answer is you don't. You are the student, and that is where all of our materials, including our answer keys, are located. So you wouldn't want your students to have that. So we sort of envision that you will use our Canvas page to download any of the materials that you want to teach in your classroom, and then you would be able to get them to your students in any way that you would like, whether it is putting that into your LMS or printing things out or just showing them the PowerPoints. The only thing that we do ask is that you don't share your materials with other teachers. Instead, share information with them about how they can get their own Canvas account, and then they'll be able to access those materials as well. So, talked a little bit about the cyber.org range. And as you can see on the screen, a range is a cloud-based environment that is capable of running virtual machines that will access the internet, but they are closed off from any private networks. Some of the labs that you'll see in there in the cyber.org range activities will do things like, create backdoors into other machines. And so we really don't want you doing that on your school's network. And so in order to provide a safe space for students to practice things, break things, the range offers that sandboxed experience. And so you're actually able to lead your students through some of those more suspect activities without getting a call from your IT department going, hey, what you doing? So let's go ahead and take a look at our lesson. Our lesson is multi-factor authentication. In our Cybersecurity Basics. This lesson is going to be found under the security portion of lessons in a section called Passwords and Beyond. So in that section, we've got a K2 lesson about passwords, a 3.5 lesson about authentication and access, who and should not be accessing, and then 2, 6 through 8 lessons, the first one on making strong passwords, and then the one that we are looking at today, multi-factor authentication. And so as you can see, there is a link to download the lesson guide, the slides, and the handout that goes with this lesson. Interestingly enough, the handout that goes with this lesson is a second PowerPoint that has the student activity that we'll take a look at. So I went ahead and incorporated those slides inside my lesson slides so that I could show you that material as well. And then as you'll see several places in Canvas next to the materials that are in English, you'll also find a link for a lot of them to download in Spanish. We have one staff member who is working hard every day to translate as many of our materials as possible into Spanish until eventually all of our course materials will be available in Spanish as well. So taking a look, the lesson begins with a guiding question, of course. What is multi-factor authentication? And then the student goal of being able to explain how multi-factor authentication protects information from unauthorized users. And so the thing that I kind of like most about this lesson is it really is going to put a lot of the learning on the students with the activity that they're going to go through. And so they are really going to sort of develop that intrinsic sort of almost acceptance of multi-factor authentication because I know having to find my phone when I'm trying to log into this, that, or the other, or remembering a PIN number to go along with the password that I also entered can be a little bit aggravating. But this lesson serves to teach students that it's also very important. And so it starts out and ask questions. And then it has this very interesting video that I'm actually going to show. I'm pretty sure I have already optimized my sound. So when I hit play on this, everybody should be able to hear it. But this video is part of the lesson and it's actually very interesting. So let me go ahead and hit play here.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the
And I've
website
watched
you
it so
need.
many times, it's now playing
With
ads.
full business.
Skip.
Facial recognition is cropping up everywhere. From shopping centers to schools, it's likely something is scanning your face somewhere at some point in time when you're out and about. But rather than kill your privacy, facial recognition on smartphones is supposed to protect your digital life. We decided to test that theory by looking at the security of various Android and iPhone facial recognition systems. And we did this with a 3D printed head, seeing which phones would open when being presented with the fake. The first stop was Backface in Birmingham, UK. It's a small company founded by Tim Millward that makes 3D printed models for all manner of customers, from filmmakers to government suppliers. Tim, can you tell us what we're actually looking at?
Well, this is our 3D scanning rig. It consists of 96 DSLR cameras, which all fire at the same time, and that captures all the data that we can then use to produce a 3D scan. So we're gonna pop you in here. We're gonna process all that data, and then we'll produce a 3D printed head.
Backface then constructs the model with a 3D printer that builds up layers of powdered British gypsum. Then some final colourings are added and the life-size head is ready within a few days, all for just over 300 quid. For our test, I used my own real-life head to register for facial recognition systems across 5 phones: an iPhone 10, an LG G7 Link, a Samsung S9, a Samsung Note 8, and a OnePlus 6. We would then see whether the devices would let us in with the fake head. Okay, so this is the OnePlus 6, pretty much opens as soon as you put your face to it. So it's open straight away. Try with the face. Open straight away. It's the worst. So this is the Samsung S9 with a bright white light, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So I test it my own face now. Okay, I unlocked that time. We try it with the head. It won't open there, won't open there. But if you find the right angle, it opens. For the Samsung phones, as with the LG device, it was possible to choose between either faster facial recognition or standard. The faster the recognition, the less secure. Alright, this is the Samsung Note 8. This is actually not bad. Okay, so we turn faster recognition on. It recognises my face, so faster recognition is just a weaker version of facial recognition. Let's see if the face works. Okay, so yeah, faster recognition on that one, at the right angle, opens it up. Okay, so we're now going to test on a softer, warmer light, because we think that it's going to work a little bit better. So now we're going to try it with the slightly harder facial recognition. It's a slower version of facial recognition, so it should be more secure. We'll try it with my normal face. Unlocks fairly quickly, so now try it with the fake head, and that's unlocked. So with the softer light, for some reason the head seems to work even on the strongest facial recognition setting there. The LG device was, for the most part, impenetrable, though in the right light and on a lower security setting it was possible to break in on occasion. As for the iPhone, the fake couldn't find a way in. Apple's heavy investment in the security of Face ID really does seem to have paid off here.
I think if you have genuine concern about the possibility of somebody spoofing your biometric and unlocking your phone, I would say focus on the secret aspect, which is the PIN or the password, because the reality with any biometrics is that they can be copied. I guess anybody with enough time, resource, investment, and objective will invest that time and resource to maybe try and spoof some of these biometrics. So the best way to keep your data secure will be through the secrets, which only you will keep in your head.
And so the questions that go with that video are, how could threat actors gain access to your information if you use just biometrics to access your devices and your accounts? And the nice thing is that the video does kind of cover that. At the end, he says, it is entirely possible for those metrics to be spoofed. And so if you're worried about it, then you would obviously want to engage multiple factors. And so the activity for this lesson winds up being a research carousel, which I think also has an official Kagan name, round robin, rally robin. But what the students will do is they are going to go through and they are going to research some factors, but they are going to be responsible for researching specific parts of them. And so the factors that they will look at are knowledge factors, something you know, possession factors, something you have, inherence factors, something you are, location factors, somewhere you are, or behavior factors, something that you do. And so to give a little more guidance on the activity, they're going to research those 5 types of factors, but they'll do it in 5 different rounds. In round 1, they'll get a definition of the factor. In round 2, they'll give an example of the factor. In round 3, they'll find images for that factor. Round 4, they'll answer the question, how could a threat actor compromise this factor? And in round 5, they'll be able to include any other important information about that factor. The interesting thing is, though, is that those factors are going to swap for each round. So if in the first round they start with possession, for example, then in round 2, they'll wind up getting another factor like inherence. And so they will see all of the factors, and each group that you put the students in will be responsible for contributing information about each particular factor. And so, like I said, the handout link that is listed in this lesson actually comes with this PowerPoint. And so it's got the title slide, research carousel. It re-gives the instructions that students will get 5 minutes per slide, and then reminds them what they will be responsible for in each round. And so there is a slide for the knowledge factor, the possession factor, the inherence factor, the location factor, the behavior factor, and then that slide that I just popped up was part of the lesson. So if we take a look at the lesson guide for multi-factor authentication, we don't leave you in the dark there, because we also provide some websites that you could direct your students to in order to get started in their research of researching those particular factors. And we also give helpful information if you decide that you would like to have this be an offline activity instead of maybe putting those slides into Google Slides, or however you disseminate slides to your students. You could do this as an offline activity where you have either a piece of paper or chart paper for each of the factors, and then the student groups have sticky notes where they can record their information for the part of the factor that they are researching, so that they can then add that sticky note to the chart paper or a sheet of paper, or even a spot on your board. If you divide your board into the different sections, they can come and place those sticky notes so that y'all can then have a discussion about what they learned about each of the factors once they are finished. And so that is this slide, and this one is part of the lesson slides. And so once the research is done, everyone comes back together, and so you can have a discussion about how can these factors help to protect you if your password is compromised. Do you think one factor is more secure than another? And so again, that's going to come down to opinion in the classroom, but it leads into a good discussion about that. And so There is a cyber career spotlight that goes with this lesson. This one is for a systems administrator. And so this slide gives information about the degree required, common job duties, and what the students will find most interesting, the median salary. So the putting it all together is a writing prompt for this one. And so the students will spend a couple of minutes writing about how is multi-factor authentication more secure than a strong password or even two-factor authentication, because those are different. So that brings us to our range activity. But before we dive in, the title of that range activity is MFA Saves the Day. So over in Canvas, that one is going to be found under range activities. And when you scroll down, MFA Saves the Day. So you'll have access to the lesson guide, the slides, the guided notes, and the answers. So just to jump into that a little bit, talking about the resources that are available there. From the teacher perspective, you have the lesson guide that outlines everything that you need to know prior to teaching the lesson. So this is your lesson plan. Also has the answer key to the guided notes. And then as far as what you'll put in front of the students, that PowerPoint that comes with the lesson walks students through step by step how the lab is supposed to work. And then the guided notes are basically, written directions right in front of them to access that intelligence, and then also to be a place for them to answer questions about the lab as they go along. So really and truly, you have a couple of different options as to, how to put this in front of your students. A lab could be done as a whole class experience, where you are facilitating the walkthrough of that lab with the slides, or in your LMS, you give the students the slides, you give them the guided notes, and then they should have everything that they need to be able to successfully complete the lab on their own. And then in the lesson guide, we list for each slide tips and tricks and problems that we think that the students could possibly run into while they are working their way through the lab, and then suggestions to you on how you can help them with those. So at that point, you would just sort of take a step back. You're the guru in the room, but you're allowing the students to go through and work on the activity by themselves. So just like the lesson, the Cybersecurity Basics lesson, the lab starts off with a focus question about how multi-factor authentication can help protect you from credential harvesting. And then it also gives you your student objectives. And so in this lab, they would create a phishing email using the social engineering toolkit and some simple HTML. And the good news is that they never even have to see the HTML. There's a script in the lesson that is going to set all of that up for them. They'll model how a target could fall for a phishing scam and give away his or her credentials. And then they'll simulate how multi-factor authentication can help slow malicious actors down from using those harvested credentials to log into important accounts. So the lesson also includes the multi-factor authentication cyber safety video. And so you would show that, and then has a quiz to go along with it. This one is just in the slides, and then it has animations set up for you to be able to click through. So the question asks, what is multi-factor authentication? And after the lesson and the video, the students should know that multi-factor authentication is a way of proving who you are. The video specifically asks, which of the following is not something that could be used for MFA? And obviously, the answers to their math quiz are not going to help them prove that they are who they say they are when they try to log into an account. So the video gives examples, and so this next question is a fill in the blank examples from the video of something you have for MFA are a blank, a USB key, or a badge. And in the video, that third item is a phone. Multiple choice, what time is it when you get a verification text from a service you didn't try to log into? It is not time to call the police. It is not time for a snack. It's time to change your password. I appreciate your reaction there, Corey. When I wrote the question, it very much kind of reminded me of that joke, what time is it when an elephant sits on your car? It's time to buy a new car. So when you get that verification text, it's time to change your password. So the video also lists 4 examples of something that you are for MFA. The question asks for 3, but all 4 of the items are listed. So a fingerprint, face ID, retinal scan, voice analysis. So those are the 4 things from the video that qualify as something you are. So those inherent factors. The asks how many factors does the video say are usually enough to protect you in the instance that your password or PIN number is leaked. And the video recommends at least 2, but we know that when it comes to multi-factor authentication, more is more. And so hopefully this point will be driven home with the students as they go through the video and then take that quiz. Final question, true or false, without being judgmental. It is not a great idea to have the same password for all of your accounts. And of course, we know that is true. Now, it's hard to do because you have to remember all of those passwords, especially considering best practice is not to write them down anywhere. So that is why we tend to fall into the pitfall of having the same password for everything anyway, because we don't want to have to remember all of those passwords. So again, another reason why multi-factor authentication is so important in helping us to stay safe. So this lesson also, once again, covers a little bit more about social engineering. And so it defines it as the concept of using relationships, persuasion, and body language to steal some secretive / personal information or persuade someone to perform some action. I took a group of kids to a Cyber Patriot camp that was offered here locally. And I don't know if it is this way in other parts of the country, but here in the South, when an adult asks you a question, it's usually considered pretty rude not to answer. And so the facilitator of the camp was asking my kids like all of these questions. So, what school do you go to? What's y'all's mascot? Do you have any pets? Oh, what kind of pets do you have? And so he was asking these questions very slick and then brought up later on the fact that he had basically gotten all kinds of information from them that could potentially be used as passwords. And so, we tend to think that oh, well, I know all about social engineering. I'm not going to fall for it now. But he very much seemed like he was just having a conversation with the kids, trying to get to know them a little bit better. And he was really asking them questions that could lead to some password cracking. So this slide sort of outlines what's going to happen in the lesson. We'll set up the social engineering toolkit. We'll use the internet to then go ahead and enter some fake credentials to fall for that social engineering. And then we will go to a banking website where we will attempt to use those stolen credentials. Each of the range activities comes with a cyber career as well. And this one is Information Systems Security Manager. So looking at the lab, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to go to apps.cyber.org. So if you'll open a new tab there, and in the chat, Jess has given you some important information that says that we have pre-assigned each of you a temporary student login for the range. So even if you already have range access, please use the account login credentials provided in the PDF. And so she has included the PDF in there. If you were pre-registered for this event, your name should be listed, and then as you scroll over, you should find your username, which will look like a random string of letters and numbers, and the super secure password of password. And so you will go to apps.cyber.org and you will log in with those credentials. And so let me, all right. So, get those out of my way. All right. So all right. So this is the teacher view of apps.cyber.org. And so as you can see, all of the machines have already been started by Jess because she is super nice. And so you have that option to be able to go ahead and launch those machines ahead of time for your students. They are not persistent. They have a shelf life of about 2 hours, give or take, depending on what time you start them. But as you can see, your Windows 7 machine has been launched. When you log in to the student view, you should see that that one is running. You'll also see the 3 other machines that you have access to, the Kali Linux, the Ubuntu Linux, and a Windows Server 2022. But y'all are not going to need those today. I am going to quick fast go through and set up the social engineering part of the lab, and then we will be able to fall for that together and try to use those harvested credentials in an attack. So I'm going to click into my Kali Linux machine here just to show you what the students would do in this part of the lab. I'll go ahead and make my screen bigger. I can do a Shift Control plus to make the letters on the screen a little bit bigger. My favorite thing is that you can also go to preferences and you can change the size of your text. You can also change the mode. Everyone around here in the cyber.org offices loves dark mode for some reason. I get called boomer a lot because I don't always use dark mode for everything. So I like to pick different ones. So I'm going to do, when I hit apply, you'll notice mine changes color. But actually, for this activity, I'll go ahead and leave it on dark mode because the social engineering toolkit, when the information pops up, it does look a little bit easier to read in that dark mode. But just wanted to show you that you can go in and change that, especially if you've got visually impaired students, and different colors of the terminal would be better. All right. So when they start the lab and they get their terminal window open, the first command that they will enter is to start the SE toolkit. And so that command is sudo SE toolkit. And Jess won't have to worry about typing these in because they don't have access. So this screen right here is the SE Toolkit's terms of service, and you can read the whole thing, but it basically has you promising that you will only use your powers for good and not evil. I'm going to type in Y to agree to the terms and then hit enter. We like to say that setting up a social engineering attack is as easy as 1, 2, 3, because those are the numbers that we are going to use in the various menus that we're going to encounter. So from the current menu, we're going to select 1 because we said this was going to be a social engineering attack. We're going to now select 2 because we want to use a website in our attack. We're going to now select 3 because this is a credential harvesting attack. We're hoping someone will enter their username and password so we can have that. Then the process starts back over. We're going to select 1 for a web template. This screen just lets me know that the IP address for this attack is my IP address. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter there. And I love a good Google page, so we're going to select 2 for it to create us a Google page template. And so now it is telling us that it is making that page. In the blue there, we see that the credential harvester is running on port 80, and it tells us that any information that it gets from folks falling for the attack will be displayed in the screen below. So then once they've got the SE toolkit up and running, they're going to open another window because in the range, if we're doing something that would involve like sending an email or going to a website, we usually have to kind of mimic that through our Apache web server. So the script, the command that I'm going to type in is MFA email, and I'm going to hit enter. And so behind the screen, the scenes, that script has created an HTML page with a link inside of it that will take the user to that Google page that we created. And so we are ready for your part of the lab. So I am going to close this machine for just a second. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my tabs here, because in one tab, if you're running multiple machines, this is a super easy way to be able to move back and forth between those machines. So you'll notice now I've got one tab running my Kali Linux, and I've got my other tab running Windows 7. So in the Windows 7, and you can follow along if you like. I'm going to go ahead and open up Internet Explorer, the #1 web browser for downloading other web browsers. And Jess has put in the chat where you are going. You are going to the IP address of my Kali Linux machine, which is 10.15.12.86/. capital MFA, lowercase email, dot HTML. And so here is that HTML site that was created whenever we ran the MFA email command in our Linux machine. It's not visually spectacular, but it gets the job done because it very much looks like an email message, and it's got the link for us to be able to click here to update our system. And I didn't do it intentionally when I was writing this script, but as you can see, there are a couple of errors in the text of the script. And so it very much leads to the conversation about, honing those skills to be able to spot a fake email. Additionally, you could talk about the fact that up here, the S is missing in HTTP. So this is not a secure page. Not very many web pages would have you go to an IP address. So you can talk about the fact that if this were a real scam and I was working really, really hard, I would go out and I would try to, buy a domain where I could finagle with characters or symbols, trying to get as close to the actual website that I'm hoping you fall for as possible. And so you could talk about, starting to recognize those differences in the web address. But once that conversation is over, we are going to go ahead and click the click here link. And the lab tells us exactly which credentials to enter. Because again, the social engineering toolkit is a great part of the lesson to show how those credentials are harvested, but it's actually the website that we're going to get to in just a second, where we try to use those credentials. That is the important part. So the username that the lab asks you to put in is jane.doe@cyber.org. And then Jane actually has a pretty good password. It's capital CYB3R $ECURITY. So cyber security there. And so I'm going to go ahead and click sign in, and it doesn't matter whether or not you tell it to memorize your password, because the damage has already been done. So it looks like several folks are participating and going along with the lab. And so we are seeing lots of credentials up on the screen here. So again, another great opportunity to show that when a malicious actor gets a set of credentials through an attack like this, the username and password appear in plain text. It's not encrypted, it's not hashed. If you understand the concept of hashing, it's just there. So this was whenever I first started with cyber.org and using, the range. Like, this was the scariest part for me, like the most unsettling, because I'm like, oh my gosh, A, I fell for that attack, and B, like, they don't even have to work any harder than they already did, because there's my stuff just on their screen, large and in charge and ready to go. So at this point in the lab, now that we've got those credentials, we can go ahead and use, or I can go ahead and use Control C on my keyboard to stop the credential harvester from running. In Linux, Control C is the command that you use to dump out of any process that is running. And so you see I hit Control C once, and it tells me that it has created a report for me. It tells me where that report is located, so that I can go back and look at those harvested credentials later anytime I want. tells me to press return to continue, which I kind of think they should update because kids don't really know that return is the enter button anymore. But usually in the lab, it goes through and it says just hit Control C until you get the command line back. This is also a good opportunity for us to see how to actually get out of the toolkit, because it says to press 99 to return to the main menu, press 99 to return to the main menu, and then finally press 99 to exit. And so we have officially backed out of the social engineering toolkit in the way that it was intended. So now that we have the command line back, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control L on my keyboard. That is the same as you typing in the word clear. It just moves everything that's on the screen up and out of your way so that I've got a empty screen to work with. So now we're to the part of back into the part of the lab where we are the malicious actor. And so we are going to try to log into some stuff with those credentials. And so now, in order to sort of simulate that, we're going to need to turn on our Apache server. We couldn't do it earlier because it does not play nicely with the SE toolkit, so it would not have worked while that was running. So I am going to use the alias that we created for this command, and that is web server start. Normally they would go through and they would, it would be services, Apache 2 start, but we went ahead and created this alias so that we could start it very easily. So it's going to take a second. You'll get the command line back, and then we'll be ready to go. So now that that is going, I'm going to go back to my Windows 7 machine where you guys are located, and we are ready for the next item on the list. So now we are going to once again navigate to my IP address, which is 10.15.12.86. But this time, behind that forward slash, we are going to type in capital L, capital N, capital B, and then in lowercase, the word banking, BANKING, and then hit enter. So that is going to take us to this fabulous website where we are going to try to log in with Jane Doe's credentials. So I am going to put her email address in the username section. And then I'm going to get real quiet as I try to type in her password correctly the first time. All right. So those are still in the chat, the email address and the password. So jane.doe@cyber.org. And then the password is that cybersecurity with those special characters. So then I'm going to click sign in. And that brings us to this page. It says we sent a 6-digit code to XXX-SXX 0101. Uh-oh. So obviously, Jane has multi-factor authentication set up, and she would probably about now be getting a message on her phone that tells her what that 6-digit code is. And now Jane knows that she didn't try to log into her bank, so she is going to want to change that password. So we could brute force this, we could try to put in a couple of, random numbers. Maybe the 6-digit code is just as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, that didn't work. So maybe it is, just something random. And so what the students are going to see is that they could sit there and they could try as many 6-digit codes as they like. They won't be able to progress past the screen because without Jane's phone, we don't have Jane's credentials to be able to fully log into her account. There is actually a 6-digit code that does make this work, just so that you could show the kids, no, there really is a website beyond the login page. But if they didn't know it, then they're not going to be able to access that. So back in the lesson, we did all of this part. We logged in. There's the web server start. And so at this page is when they realize that, uh-oh, we've got a problem. And so they'll start trying those numbers, and much to their chagrin, they will not be able to get past that. So just as a sort of cross-curricular kind of thing, I don't usually math in public, so this is a big day for you guys. So we talk a little bit about, if you're wondering how long it would take to crack this 6-digit code, let's look at the math. So with digits 0 through 9, and assuming that you could start at 6 zeros and go all the way up to 6 nines, and try everything in between, the number of possible combinations that you could come up with would be 10 to the 6th power combinations, which is 1,000,000 combinations. And so if we assume that you could type in those 6 numbers and hit enter or click go in about 1.5 seconds, that is 1,500,000 seconds that it would take you to try all of those combinations. And so with there being 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 24 hours in a day, we can do a little bit of converting. And the folks in the office laughed at me because if you're looking at my conversion chart and you're thinking chemistry and stoichiometry, you are not wrong. But my chemistry teacher told me that when it came to conversions, the bridge was my friend, and so I chose to believe her. So we can see that it is sorted out 1.5 million seconds. There are 60 seconds in a minute, so the conversion there, 60 minutes in an hour, and 24 hours in a day. And so the maths that it would take just over 17 days to be able to try all of those combinations. So the little note says that, with some luck, it's possible to be faster than this because it really kind of just depends on what the actual code is and where it falls within that pattern of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then moving up through the combinations. I believe in the lesson, I actually gave the 6-digit combination. And so these students could sort of do the math on how long it would take to crack that actual combination if they started from 0, 0, 0. Because I'm a nerd, and that's what we do. So the putting it all together, asks them some questions, and the first one being, how do you feel seeing that a target's credentials appear as plain text to a malicious actor using the social engineering toolkit? Like I said, I was kind of freaked out by it, so I thought, maybe the kids would be too. You think you're being safe. You think that, yeah, Corey, exactly. But whoa. So I kind of wanted, to address that, like get how they're feeling about how easy it is once people fall for these attacks. And then asking the question, did MFA save the day? How do you know? And obviously, we know that it's a yes because we were never actually able to get into Jane's banking account to see any of the things that would be in there and, possibly transfer ourselves a little bit of money. So that didn't happen. So then kind of goes back to that approach of looking at MFA before the lesson and the lab as something that might have been annoying, and now asking whether or not their opinion of multi-factor authentication has changed because of the lesson. And then, of course, asking that further probing question of how. And so with both of these, both the offline cybersecurity basics lesson and the online range activity, we see that, we can have a real in-depth conversation with students about multi-factor and about changing perceptions of, MFA is a thing that is annoying, to hopefully MFA is a thing that is necessary. And so that is one of the lessons. Whoop, I went the wrong way. So that is one of the lessons, and there are lots of others in there. The thing that I like the most probably about cybersecurity basics is that other courses tend to have a pacing guide, a this is how you should teach this. With the cybersecurity basics course, we have the courses, we have the material there. Each of the tiles tells you a little bit about what the lesson is about, but you really sort of get to pick what lesson is good for you in the time that you have in your classroom. Folks have said, I only have maybe a 9 weeks or a quarter or a semester to devote to this. So I can't really, wind up teaching all of these lessons. And especially when you consider that right now, as it exists on campus, cybersecurity basics really only has the two of the three categories of lessons that it will eventually have, because we are actively right now writing lessons on computing systems. And so you're going to have even more lessons to choose from. And so the nice thing is that we don't sort of, bootstrap you into a mentality of you have to teach this, 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 and this. Now, obviously, if you ask, we are more than happy to, sort of take apart and, figure out for the time, what lessons could be the most beneficial. And, we are looking at sequences to this because, you have this bank of lessons, but, the lessons are in bands. Kindergarten through second, third through fifth, sixth through eight. So you wouldn't want to necessarily teach every single lesson that is in there to your sixth graders to then have to turn around and teach them all again when they're seventh graders, and then again when they're eighth graders, because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have already heard this, I'm checked out. So we are looking at, the possibility of, sort of separating them into what we think would be good lessons to incorporate the 6th grade year, the 7th grade year, and the 8th grade year. So they're not looking at the same stuff over and over again, but because there's no assigned scope and sequence, you really have the ability to make that decision for yourself. If you teach all of the middle grades, I know I did. When I taught robotics, it was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade robotics. So good luck not saying the same thing over and over again. Yeah, thanks, Corey. We were really super excited to write the middle school range activities because when you look at courses like Intro to Cybersecurity and our cybersecurity course, they use the range all the time for labs that are very similar to the one that we presented. And so we really thought, man, it would be super cool if middle schoolers could get in on that action too, because you know any time that we can put this in front of the kids, like they're going to remember the lab that they did where they were able to harvest some credentials. And so we were very excited, and it seemed like every time we wrote a middle school range lesson, I was like, oh my gosh, that goes perfectly with the cybersecurity basics lesson that we did about the exact same thing. So we were already sort of thinking in that way. So it's pretty awesome. But again, that's the cool thing about basics and those range activities. You get to pair them up the way that you want. So if you're going through a lesson and you want a component to go with it, then we got you. So we had actually joked about possibly trying to make like a set of elementary range lessons to get kids started. We had made the joke that we need the students to at least have their CompTIA IT fundamentals certification by kindergarten. That way they can start looking at other certifications as they move on up. So we'll see what happens with that. But in the very least, we thought that middle school would be a great space for them to start working with the range and start trying these labs out. Another super great aspect of the range, and one of the questions that we get a lot is, but aren't you teaching the kids how to hack though? And the answer is no, not really. I mean, we're putting the tool in front of them to be able to use, but the range it's a sandboxed environment. We don't go through a lot of the finer points that would go into actually pulling off these attacks. The point is to really just kind of give kids a peek under the hood at what could be. So I feel like I have talked a lot. So I'm going to put myself on pause for a little minute to answer any questions about the lesson, about the courses, anything that you are still going about.
I'm going to jump in just to say what I answered in the chat, just in case it's relevant to the recording as well. The original full question was, are there more activities for the range activities that connect to cybersecurity basics lessons? And is there a document showing those possible connections? So I think we did answer that there are other pairings because we did make those connections while we were writing those lessons for the range activities. However, there is not currently any sort of documentation calling out those connections. mainly because these range activities only launched at the beginning of summer, right before our annual conference in June. We officially launched them the same week that we had our EdCon summer conference. So these the range activity lessons have not been used during a school year yet. So they're brand new. So we haven't made those connections yet, or all of those connections yet, because teachers haven't started using them with students yet. So.
Yeah, well, see what happens when you attend a virtual training. You get the new hotness. So y'all will be able to field test these in your class during the year and let us know how we did, how those connections are syncing up. So while we are in the Canvas account. There are other great things that have not been highlighted this week. Cybersecurity Basics, this is the session on that. There were sessions on Intro to Cybersecurity and the Cybersecurity course for high school. Cyber Society, there was also a couple of sessions for that. But some of our other lesser known modules include things like coding fundamentals, computational thinking, cyber literacy, which is actually going through a course update right now, IT fundamentals, taking a look at computational thinking. These lessons are sorted by elementary, middle, and high. But the nice thing that you're going to find about our materials is that they are never specifically labeled for the students. What grade level they are. So if you put a handout in front of the kids, the sixth grade are never going to know that they are doing a kindergarten handout because it won't be labeled as such. But these lessons are great for getting students sort of thinking in that computational mindset of being able to decompose problems into smaller bits. If we go into the elementary session here, we've got some lessons on computer storage. And so the students have to come up with a step-by-step plan that could be given to a new student in their classroom about how the computers or Chromebooks or whatever technology is used in the classroom is properly stored and put away. Also, same thing for party planning and pet care. We have middle school versions of those lessons as well. The typical shoe is a great math lesson. It has the kids going through and taking a look at all of the different types of shoes that are present in the classroom to answer the question of what is the typical shoe in the room. And so the students get to decide how that information is going to be presented. They get to put together their presentation for that and then show it. We've done this one in workshops before, and it's even interesting all of the different ways that teachers will present that information. We've seen bar graphs, circle graphs, T-charts, so all different manner of information being displayed there. So again, the paper airplane challenge, that one is good for the engineering design process of creating a paper airplane. Testing it out, seeing how far it flies, and then trying to improve on that design so that the paper airplane will go farther. So some of these could be excellent back to school kind of getting into your computer science or robotics, thinking of, you know, how problems can be broken down. So these could be fun and engaging ways to sort of get kids moving into that mindset as they're going along. And Anya says she did the data collection comp think lesson with her gifted 6-8 kids this year. They got a tour of their entire tech setup in the school by the district tech director. That's awesome. Love guest speakers. So yeah, they collected the data, they presented it to the department, saw real-time network data. This is so cool. So, taking that lesson and then, really making it your own by bringing in that guest speaker and being able to connect all of these different concepts that you are outlining in the chat. That's really amazing. I love that. But yeah, so these lessons can definitely spark those kinds of dare to be great scenarios. So we've got some high school versions of those lessons as well, and you'll find there's a lot of overlap there. So you can find CompThink across all three grade bands. You're gonna find that module in each of them. Coding fundamentals is another great module. This one involves the BBC microbit. And the good news is that you really don't even need to have a set of microbits, because the website that students would use to code the microbits winds up having a microbit emulator that would show them exactly what their program would do if they had the actual device in front of them. So this one's got really great lessons. The first one is unplugged to be able to, meet the microbit, take a look at it, see its parts and components. That Hello World first program goes through looking at the different aspects and features of the microbit, the display, and then being able to create some really cool animations, custom images, music. That part was always my favorite. I could get lost in a PD. Once they introduced that music section, I was sitting there programming every song I knew to play over the microbit. We've got different projects in the section there, a section on radio, being able to use the microbits antenna to be able to communicate back and forth. So this one has a lot of great lessons. And then bringing it back around to cybersecurity basics, the bottom section of coding fundamentals includes our cybersecurity content. And so we have a hex library that can be brought into that Make Code website where students can then use blocks to program their microbit to display messages using the Pigpen cipher, or Shift cipher, the Vigenère cipher, which I never say that word correctly because it's French and I'm not. Morse code, and then even the Enigma. And the Enigma is part of cybersecurity in cryptography as well. The lesson in cybersecurity basics goes through and has the students make that Pringles can Enigma, which kids always love because they get to enjoy the Pringles in the can or not. I don't know how you do in your classroom, but you can then bring in an online component, a digital component where the kids are able to use their microbit and those Enigma blocks to be able to create a machine that would very easily encode and decode their messages. So there are lots of different things that can be brought into those cyber security basics lessons that can really enhance those lessons and make them even better. And of course, we love y'all's ideas as well. So please, 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 if you do something awesome like Anya did, make sure to share that with us. All right. So any questions about any of those things? I am on fire today. I'm explaining so well. Absolutely, Corey. I love just the coding fundamentals by itself because, again, I got my start teaching robotics, and so anywhere where I can get some computer science in, I'm going to shoot my shot. So at this point, we are pretty much done with the recording. But if you are live on the call today, don't go anywhere because we have one more slide for y'all. But for those folks who are watching the recording, thanks so much for taking the time to look at our materials. Our website, our email addresses are listed there, and we love to take your questions, and so feel free to reach out.